Morning, everyone. So, the new Dark Elf book came out yesterday, and we've gotten spoilers and stuff over the past couple months. So, not everything we see is going to be super surprising. Though it looks like they did change some stuff. So, we'll just go through very high level, first glance, gut opinion on a lot of things. I'm not a Dark Elf expert. I played them ETC years ago, and they are not the same. Playing years ago with Dark Elves is not the same as Ninth Age. And so I think there will be videos out there if you're looking for like really, I don't want to say quality content, but like really more informed decisions, like people who played the old Dark Dread Elves and compare it to the new one, blah, blah, blah. So, you know me, I'm 6 in the morning, I got my coffee. I'm just going to tell you what I think, and fuck, it could be wrong. All right, so yeah, here it is Army rules. So, Academy train. And I do know, I have read through the book, obviously, so I might comment on things that I know are coming, just to make everything more clear here. So academy training, this is like the big rule that the infantry have, or at least like the spears and the crossbows, and then the obsidian guard have this, and one of the characters have it. So units with more than half their models. So this right away I can tell you is going to be an interesting thing because I don't know, just having to have half your models. I don't know. We'll see. This one is questionable whether it should ever become. I know I shouldn't talk about what I think might need to change, but let's just do what the rule is. So if you're academy trained, you get one opponent gets -1 rank bonus for each unit you have in combat. And then while within 8 inches of one or more non-fleeing friendly academy trained units, you get devastating charge +1 advance. This is just to basically clarify it lasts for one turn. And then you have counting an additional full rank for the purpose of steadfast and distributed rank. So it's actually a very strong like abilities all in one little, right? So +1 advance is easy to say. Everyone gets an extra charge range, right? That's fine. But then the other one is like, 20 spears versus, now count as 5 ranks, which is really big. I mean, counting as a whole extra 5 models when it comes to breaking steadfast or having steadfast, it means, having 1 rank, a monster doesn't break you. That's like big deal too, right? Having 5 models left, you count as 2, so monster can't break through you. And dropping people's rank bonus by a lot. Also 5 models in the flank, so if you have like 10 obsidian guard and they flank like a huge unit, even if 1 dies, like they still break your steadfast. So that's a really strong rule. That whole, and it's it's the mechanic of them, so we'll see how that kind of plays out in practice. But I think there's an academy banner for like 40 points. That one seems kind of dumb because like the main 3 of the units already have it, and so the only infantry really left, I guess, are maybe corsairs. Who cares? They're light troops. So it's like witch elves and the judicators. But like it's kind of like an obvious banner to take on them, in my opinion. Like, why wouldn't you take academy trained if you have other academy trained units? You get all this. You get so much for 40 points. It's almost like it should be exclusive enough. I don't think they need a banner that gives it to other units. But I digress. Very strong set of rules here. Causes some weird situations with characters. So I could see them going to like you have to have all academy trained, which actually would be a big deal because things like, the outcast being in the unit would take it away, and you'd have to be a little more careful with what characters you buy, I guess. Hunting bola is minimized if you're breaking from some units with it. So this is, I think, the fast cav, like Ravenclaw have it. Great rule. I honestly believe that something like this should be in the game if you like flee through, like if you're hit on 2 sides, like if your flee would take you through an enemy or something like that. What the point being is, I think that this is a great rule. It's fun. It's good for Dark Elves. It makes sense. It's new, but it actually should be like a real rule in the game where you're like hit on multiple sides. You should get minimized to your distance, so you're easier to catch. It sucks when you surround like a lance, beat it by 10, and then all of a sudden it gets away because it rolled a 12 and it survived. You get 0 points. Personal accuracy, I think this is just to keep some models out of the same unit as others, so they put it as a rule up here. Fearless and Frenzy while engaged. +1 advance if somebody took a wound, essentially. Okay, that's cool. This is not too different. I mean, it's like the chariots and stuff are going to get +1 advance. Fearless and Frenzy, they had that before. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how much the frenzy matters. I feel like that could be something that actually like is a big deal when like a chariot charges, kills everything but one, and then has to pursue. It's kind of annoying. +1 to wound, +1 to wound in the first round of combat. We knew this was coming. Kraken hide, +1 armor on foot. I'm sure that's not going to be that interesting. Repeater crossbow. So you get 3 shots at short range, 1 shot at long range. It used to be what, 2 shots at 24-inch range. Obviously up close, it's a lot of shots. It's 9 inches, and 9 inches is not. It's super close. So it's also strength 3, AP 0. So obviously you'll light up some elves, right? If you had 45 shots on, let's say it was a 15-man unit, 45 shots on Seaguard, you're assuming you had to move to get there probably. So you're hitting on 4s most likely without any other penalties. So what, 45? You're gonna wound on 4s. They're gonna wound. You're gonna kill like 7.5, I think. But they're kind of stuck at 18 inches, right? 1 shot. But I don't know if this is gonna be like super OP. I think the unit has march and shoot, which is maybe more of an issue because you can march up 10 and then shoot 9. I think if they were just move 5 and so you had to be within 13 inches to get the shots off, this is not something that's like. I don't think this might be the big problem people see. Repeater handbow is the other shot. 12 inches, pretty short, quick fire, accurate. Okay, strength 3, AP 1. We'll see how that goes. And okay, Blades of Darag. This is the new special weapon. So you get +1 attack built in. You're magical. Good to know. For each non-attribute spell with duration 1 turn, at least model unit will attacks. This weapon gains +1 strength. So no more AP, but you can get a lot of +1 strength. Okay. There's some units that this is really good on, so we'll see what that. It also works on enemy debuff. So if you were to debuff a unit with this item with a -1 strength, -1 AP, they would get +1 strength to counter it, which is funny in its own right. So the new hereditary spell, 24-inch hex. Okay. Whenever a model that is targeted spell inflicts a health point loss against enemy use, strive for range. So essentially, you do a wound when they do a wound to you, and I believe it works in combat too, like it for res purposes. So I feel like this one feels super. I think people are going to say this looks really good on paper, and then maybe in practice it's not going to feel as good because, sure, there are some things it's nice against. I'm not going to say it's an awful hereditary spell, but I think there's sometimes where you're just going to be like, you have to lose models for this to work, right? And this army is pretty elite. Like, they're not cheap. Well, they are a little too cheap if you ask me right now. But still, if you told me you're gonna lose 12 Warlocks and I'm gonna lose 8 Seaguard because of it, I'd probably take that trade, especially because you have to cast a spell on me for it to happen, and I know it's coming. So I don't think it's like, you got to remember that you're losing models that you might have lost anyway. But I don't know. It seems fine. Maybe it's better on. How's it distributed? Distributed by the attacking unit's owner. So it's on the unit. So if a mage is in a unit, okay, a mage by itself, like, sure, like a herald by itself casting Hellfire on Harpies, it'd be very annoying to have this spell out there because I'd probably do a wound or 2 to myself. Like, it's annoying, but I don't think it's like, it doesn't seem super broken to me. Items. So one thing they did cool is that they did, like all the attack items have a specific weapon that they go to. So great weapon, paired weapons, lance, blah, blah, blah. I really like this. Mainly because you can like focus like this would probably be super OP, maybe not super OP, really good with paired weapons more than a great weapon and stuff like that. So crippling frost, +1 strength, +1 armor pen, great weapon. So you're strength 7, depending on the model. Well, all the characters are 4, so yeah. -1 attack until the end of the duel. So there is a minimum of 1 attack, but this essentially, you're going at what, agility 8. So, and you're gonna have, if it's the Dread Prince, it's 5 attacks, so hitting on probably 4s or 3s depending on the enemy. They might just lose all their attacks instantly, and then what do they do? But then when you're not fighting in a duel, it's basically you're paying 95 points for Touch of Greatness, which is probably still okay. It's only 45 points, so it's basically paying 45 points for the duel part. I like this item. Maybe this shouldn't be till the end of the duel. It should be per round, so that you're not just like, because if you hit 4 times on like a Chaos Lord, they're just fucked, right? They're just gonna have 1 attack for the rest of the. It's just, you know what I mean. And especially if like it's like a Dragon Rider, right? You can hit. It's a model part, so you can choose the rider, and then the next round, if it goes 2 rounds, you can choose the dragon. And now all of a sudden, neither of them have attacks. But if you do per round, like it lasts till the round, then at least like you have to make a decision of who's more scary and stuff like that. So I could see that. Paired weapons, I'm not gonna go through everything super closely. Okay, +2 attacks, +2 AP for paired weapons. So some characters can get 7 to 8 with the +1 to wound. This is probably pretty nice, and you gain fear. Cool. This lance, like it was before. The spear seems shitty. +1 res. It's like a stupid version of the high elf one, where instead of killing more models, you just get res for killing. +1 attack, divine. That seems fine. Seal of Republic, what it was before. 40 points, +1 armor. Okay. They only have 1 armor. Oh, cool. So this is just basically giving you +1 to wound all the time. This takes away the BSB. That's pretty nice. And then you get the Petrifying Stare, which is pretty good. This one seems like it'd be really good. Maybe in practice and not, but you don't get the BSB, or if you do get the BSB, you can't reroll. Or if you don't get the BSB, okay. If you get the BSB, you can't use it. If you don't get the BSB, then you're gonna have to reroll successful checks. But maybe in practice, like you just, because it's non-core, you just lose by so much that, and with the academy rule or something, it doesn't matter. I don't know. I thought this one looked good on paper. Yeah, this one doesn't seem to be a need. I don't know why this is in the army. Like, it's going to be taken, right, on all, like, Judicator units that are of any size. Or maybe, and probably even the Temple Militant ones, the Witch Elves. Like, why wouldn't you take this? It's basically like a speed banner mixed with a bunch of other good shit. 5-up ward save that hits people back. This is a weird one because it doesn't feel worth it, because you don't want to be taking saves, and, like, you have 3 wounds, so in all likelihood, you're going to maybe cause 2 strength 5 attacks against somebody, but at the same time, you can't price it below Talisman of Shielding, because it's, so 15 points, you get the chance to hit somebody back, and maybe if a mage is on, like, 1 wound or something, they're too scared to hit you, right? If a mage was on 1 wound, would they cast a snipe at you? Maybe not, because they could just die. Again, for 15 points, if you're going to take the 5-up ward and you have the 15 points to spare, you probably should take this one. But it's just another ward save if you needed multiple wards. You gain fear and 6 inches. Okay, this is a really good item, I think. There's several ways to get fear in this book. In fact, it synergizes well with the Lacerating Touch. And all the monsters, 6 inches isn't a ton, but reroll ones, it's kind of like a stacking. Like, you'll see it as you go through the book. There's like a lot of stacking of abilities. So like you take a unit like this, you take this, and now you're rerolling 1s with +1 to wound all the time. It's not even the first round of combat. So this is a nice item. You don't even get the upgraded version of Wheel's Turns, so it kind of feels bad, because the upgraded one is the one that makes you hit and wound on 4, which synergizes well with lightning reflexes and +1 to wound. So this one, it feels like a weird spell to be bound. Legates only, battle focus on academy train, sure. This is a nice, -3 offense potentially. This item is probably too good even as is for 35 points. It seems super cheap. It seems, again, you stack this on top of what's going to come, where the -1 to hit from the crossbows, or the -1 to hit from the temple legates, stuff like that, and it's all of a sudden you're -3 offense. And so this ogre bust goes to offense 0 or 1 or 0, whatever it is, and now it's going to hit you on 6s because they're hitting you on 5s and they're distracting or something. Beastmaster Whistle seems fine if you have big monsters and stuff. Okay, so we went through the items pretty quick. How are we doing? 15 minutes in. Jesus, I'm not even to the item. Okay, we gotta go quicker through this. So that's cool. Hit back. I mean, it's kind of cool that they made like a Dis 9. He's a super fighty, 5 attacks. You know, offense 8, agility 8. He gets all the weapon upgrades we saw. He can ride a coastal raptor. What a dumb name. Elven Horse. Yeah, I mean, it's a super fighty character. What they did with the character section is really interesting because there's only one leadership 10 character, which is the Legion Legate, and like the Warlock caster can't be your leader, which is kind of annoying. So to get leadership 10, you have to take one of these guys, but they're probably like the weakest one on paper. So it's actually kind of hard to make character setups. Beastmaster, okay, great. Friendly U models gain maximized. This is really good if you take a lot of beasts. He takes a dragon for pretty cheap. I mean, 640 for a dragon, one of the better dragons, if not the best dragon in the game, because you get maximized rolls. A great rider. You can take the lacerating touch thing. So the rider has 7 strength 4, AP 3. It's like 720 points. I think the hardest part is that you don't want to, and it doesn't have to be your general, which is like the chaos problem, right? So, I mean, for 720, it's a really amazing dragon. And not only that, but I think the difficulty comes from there. Like, depending on what the rest of your characters want to be, it's kind of hard to fit like a general that you're happy with and a BSB and magic. But it can happen. It's just not as clean as like ideally in this world, you'd say, let's have a Beastmaster and a dragon. Let's have a Temple Legate Adept guy as a BSB, and let's take a Warlock Outcast as the general. But what you'll see is, fuck the Legates. I'm not going to talk about them. They're not that interesting. You know, these guys, the Legion ones, the Temple ones are really good. Like you'll see maybe these guys, the issue will be they can't join each other in a unit, which you'd be like, oh, but I actually don't think they're even that good in the Witch Elves. I think if you took 2 of them, if they could join a unit, you'd just join Spears and say, okay, these buff each other, and they buff the Shrine or the Altar. Fuck the Witch Elves. They're AP 0 anyway. Just take Spears for ranks and then and they would kill everything. But they can't go join each other. So that's a good rule, I think. Not letting them buff each other. Because they'd be really nice with each other. Again, you get an alchemy guy or a div guy. They can take different. Basically, you're gonna take blades. I'm assuming. 3 strength 4, 4 strength 4 attacks with battle focus. Yeah, 280 seems pretty cheap considering. It seems like too cheap. It's almost like unfairly cheap. These guys need to be more points. So they have a built-in ward. So this is where I'm going to complain, right? Let's just take a model. I'm going to take one that I know of, since I know the points off the top of my head, is a Goblin Adept with a +2 to cast. Not the most fairest comparison, but we'll do it. A Goblin Adept with +2 to cast has 2 wounds, garbage stats. Can't fight at all. It's an Adept. Okay, this is an Adept too. So we both have 2 spells. I get +2 to cast. Whoop-de-doo. He can fight like crazy. He has an Aegis save in combat. And he has a super buff potentially. Like this just the fighting stats are ridiculous. I mean, if you compare it to most Adepts without items, he's like 80 points for like amazing fighting stats, ward save in combat, and potential buffs for his units. This guy's a little too cheap in my opinion. Really good though. Either one. I mean, even without some of these, just having an Adept on 2 different lords. I did like that these guys, the spells are different than the Outcasts. But I think you'll see a lot of these guys right now. And maybe period. Maybe they should just be good. But I don't even think you'll see them in the Temple Militants. I think you'll just see them as it is right now. Warlock Outcast. Again, very simple, elegant. You can't be the general, which I think is huge in terms of how to make armies. +1 to cast, but -2 to dispel. Very annoying. Kind of hurts Cosmo because that was a lot of like 2 or 3 2-dice spells. And the -1 to casting values is kind of annoying. Kind of hurts your like the kind of messes with the probabilities of a little bit. A little more all in. I believe I did the math, and I forget what the answer was, but it adds like 10 or 12% to getting spells off versus like I'll give you an example. Like if I roll 4 dice at a spell and the enemy has 5 dispel dice, I forget what the math is to get it off. I think it's like 30 some percent normally with a Wizard Master, and it increases to like almost like a 50-50 with this rule change. So you might be bombing more spells. Witchcraft doesn't really synergize with the blades because it has no buffs. It's all like debuffs. So that feels a little weird, but I don't know. I don't know if you'll see a lot of outcasts right away. At least as Warlocks stand now, they're like pretty broken. So yeah, Assassin, pretty cool model. Multi wound against characters. I guess that's shooting as well. It replaces a model. I like this. I think in one of the previews, it kind of popped out of the unit and it didn't replace a model. It kind of added to the model. I'm glad that's gone because it created problems of, okay, you're chaffing the unit and now all of a sudden in the front an assassin pops out and makes the unit longer and now you're in the flank, or the assassin pops out and charges you in the flank because you didn't count for him being there. You could things like imagine a 2 rank unit, 5 by 5 and 2, so 5 and 5. When you put the assassin in, technically you'd have to pop one model to the back. Well, if somebody was behind you, like landed within an inch, you technically couldn't come out because you'd be within 1 inch of them. I think this is a good rule. It looks like a good rule where you have to just replace the model in the unit, and I think that clears up a lot of things as far as all those little things I just said. It's just easy. He's going to be one of these 5 models. You can still pop out and like flank charge somebody if they let your left. Oh no, he can't. He can't leave the unit when he pops out. Great, because you could leave before. So you have to be there. I think they really toned down some of the abuse you could do with this guy. He can't pop out and chaff in the same turn. And obviously having to kill an expensive model if you're in like Ravencloaks or something, at least is a choice. But he's not that expensive. I think they're pretty cool and fun. I actually like what they did with them. Curious to see how they go. I'm not going to go through these. Legionnaires. I mean, if there's one thing I'll say about this book, it's very clean in how it flows, right? You see the Dread Legionnaires here. Sure, they have Academy training. Like you kind of know what this stuff does, right? Academy training has a couple rules and nested in it up top. Reflexes, we all know. Ruthless Victory, +1 to hit, +1 to wound. No weapon, no options. They get the shield built in. They can't not have spears. They are what they are. Do you want command? That's the only question. And I really like that about this book. You know, when you open the ID book and everything has 8 choices, and it's like, oh, if the warriors take Ziggurat's followers, they get +1 rank and great weapons, and you can choose, what are they called, the stupid Lugers, and they get some random rule where somebody deploys something and then they can turn into fire guys in the middle of the game, and you can make them skirmish, and now they have like, it's just very clean. Here's a unit, here's what it does. Here's a unit, here's what it does. Sure, it has a lot of rules, but and maybe that's hard to remember some of it, but we know what battle focus, fight next rank, we know it's nested in there. I will say it's a lot of stuff in one when you really go through the math of how it works. But so Legionnaires are super good, I'd say, especially for their points. Again, I'm not going to focus. I'll focus a little on like what I think is maybe too cheap, but I'm not going to try to reprice anything. I'll say a general statement is that the book feels too cheap for what it can do. It just feels like you're like, oh, that unit's only 400 points. So I'm not gonna sit here and act like an expert and try to reprice everything. It just feels generally a bit too cheap. But I think and maybe there's a couple rules we'll talk about on some of the other models where maybe you're like, maybe this shouldn't be there. Militants actually feel like they suck. AP0 sucks. They lost their +1 offense. They're fine, I guess. I don't know. They're the least exciting core to me. I think the Academy trained Dread Legionnaires. Raiding Party is kind of bad. I'm not even going to talk about them. This rule's really good. The suppressing fire. I mean, this unit would be pretty good without the suppressing fire rule. So the fact that like they can just get a free, according if they don't charge, a free -1 to hit, again, should probably be distracting. Same with the Temple Legions. just so it doesn't stack with itself and doesn't stack with like div magic and stuff. Well, div distracting doesn't stack anyway because it is distracting. I just think if you make things, all of them distracting, it'll help a lot. This is a really good ability. I'm curious to see how much it comes up in practice because not one, positioning for it, two, do you want to charge the unit? Because I mean, this unit's not much worse than the spears, right? It's just they get shields, they get parry. The only thing is they don't have the spears, but for otherwise they fight pretty much the same with +1 to wound. So, and they're academy trained, so maybe yeah. I mean, the core seems to be kind of not obvious, but Legionnaires, one unit of Orcs, and maybe Shadow Riders if you feel like putting in their core. I did like what they did, where the shooting is 900 is 30%. Raiders is only 30%. So it actually does limit the amount of shooting beside, yeah, because Ravencloaks are included. Limit the amount of shooting, because 900 points is like 3 units. And so it's a lot of shots, but it's not like as much as, like if you take crossbows on Shadow Riders, you can't even take like Ravencloaks, or you can't take these guys. Like there's combinations that just don't work together. So I think that's a nice rule, and it'll keep some of the shooting down, but I do think some of the shooting units themselves are they do a little too much on top of the shooting, especially since the Ravencloaks are poison. Shadow Riders, great, yeah. They are what they were before. You can take the bows. They have more shots at close range, blah, blah. They get the hunting bolas. I mean, a fast cav unit's always nice. We'll see how much they come. Warlocks are probably the most broken unit in the book by far. Well, maybe not by far. Ravencloaks are right there. Do the math on these guys. I mean, you can 30 points for an extra model. I mean, what the fuck? 7, 2. They're 420 without a champ. So let's just take the magic away. They're 420, and they get 2 strength, 4 AP, 1 +1 to wound, +1 to hit. Light troops that move 9, and they have a 5-up ward built in. Take the ones with take the spells. If they get this spell off on themselves, they have a 3-up ward save and their strength 5 AP 1. If they get this spell off on themselves, they have a 4-up ward save and their strength 6 AP 1. But strength 6 is actually strength 7 because they get +1 to wound. So they like one round a giant like on the first turn, you know. And they have a 3 to 4 up ward save. They're actually super annoying to kill. For 420, for 12. 12 of them. That's insane. That's insane for a special unit. Not even like core. Well, they shouldn't be core. We're not going to talk about that. But like just like think of other special units you get for 420. What do you get? I'm trying to think off the top of my head what I can get for 420. I can get 6 or 7 Chaos Knights for that. Yep. 6-ish. 6 is like 404. Yeah. You don't get a lot of great shit. It's super good. These are super. I mean, why wouldn't you take 24 of these guys right now? Super fast, light troops that just kill a lot of shit. They should be extra models. Should definitely be more points. And something needs to change. Either their ward save should max out less because this is too synergetic. Problem is that you're supposed to buff them with spells, and it feels like one spell, and they're like supercharged. So maybe they should be strength 3 AP 0 or just strength 3 to start, so they don't do a million damages, all the damages. Anyway, these are probably the most broken thing. This is probably what we'll see. And I have played against Dread Elves once, and they killed most of my army. Dread Knights, super hitty. They have a problem of like, when I say problem of do the math because it is important. They can get charged by a lot of things and kill it, which is kind of weird for Knights. But because they have lethal strike raptors, they're strength 4 with 2 attacks and +1 to hit, +1 to wound. All this adds up and you just strike first a lot of the time. That's probably the biggest thing with this Dark Elf book is just they have a lot of rules that make them super killy, and they have the agility to back it up to just not give a fuck if they charge or not. Sitting Guard are cool. Again, super fighty. Reroll Panics could be good. I do think you don't have an 18-inch BSB anymore unless you go on a Mana Core. So that kind of, before it was the Altar. So I think they could have leadership issues around the flanks if they get too wide. Like the Warlocks are leadership 8 without the BSB, you know, they could just fail a fear check or a panic check. So I do think I've seen a lot of Ravencloaks that just panic and stuff. This could help with that, like especially on flanks without the BSB, where you can get at least reroll panics. Because you won't lose combat, you'll just kill anything anyway. These guys are cool. They're academy trained, which is actually really nice. These aren't academy trained. They are strength 4, strength 5, AP 4. Kill a lot of things also. AG 5. Again, that whole you could just die before you go and they get hatred. Harpies, chaff, min 8. I think min 8 is actually really good. It's really annoying because like you don't like a 2d6 strength 4 doesn't kill the unit. Like 5 typically had a good shot to die to 2d6 strength 4 magic missiles. 8, as long as you have the leadership to survive the panic check, like it's very hard to kill enough to like because a lot of times, not all the time, so a lot of times 1 chaff is as good as 8. So if you don't kill them all, it's kind of like a wasted spell, assuming they're going to chaff the next turn. So again, just chaff. Gorgons, these are one of the more interesting units. They get, you know, Fear Supernal. This is pretty cool. Probably a little pricey. Again, you can get like 3 Gorgons, and it's 410. 410 without the weapons. So let's just say you took paired weapons, so they're 425 for 3. I don't know. The Warlocks just seem better for the points, but these are cool. We'll see. Thunderpack, new unit they put in. Seems kind of meh on paper. They're light troops. Okay, I don't know. Chariots of Chariots do 1,000,000 wounds. They're super fighty. They do so much damage on the charge. It's pretty stupid for 200 points. But they are toughness 4. Maybe that'll be a downside. Maybe they'll die faster. But again, this book, it just feels like everything does a lot of damage for not that many points. But then you kind of run into the potential problem of like there's a point where if you just don't have enough models to make it, it doesn't matter how much damage you do because you're dead before you get there. Right? So like there has to be some balance of points and stuff where, you know, we talk about, oh, if this makes it there, you know, well, the problem is a lot of Dark Elves kill you when you charge them. But you have to balance of, you know, if everything is super fighty and die, you know, kills everything instantly, but you only have 3 models on the board, then they just die before you get there to a spell, and then you're like, okay, this sucks. But I don't know, it's a nice balance of do you have enough models, but also can the enemy actually kill you? Divine Altar, I like how they changed this a lot. The one that doesn't move seems kind of whatever. You can read it for yourself. The one that does move seems really good. It has 9 attacks with battle focus, and it has the spell blade, so 1 buff spell and it could be doing a lot of attacks. Counts as 15 models. You can't leave the unit, which I like. I think that's pretty cool, and it gives you -1 res, so which is basically, who cares if you're toughness 3 elves or toughness resilience 2? When you make the enemy, you're basically +2 to wound when you're with this unit, unless you're toughness 6, and then it doesn't help you against res 6. For 270, again, feels a bit cheap, but I did like the things they've done where you can't leave your own unit. Like you have to stay there, so you have to choose wisely in the beginning, and it doesn't cause it like running out and chaffing you itself. I do like that kind of stuff that they added to this. Again, simplistic. Black Cloaks, yeah, I don't understand why for 100 and 285 points you get 20 poison shots. And then you're also decent in combat because you have 2 strength, 3 poison, +1 to wound on all of them. That doesn't make sense to me. If they seem super cheap, 0 to 3 units, 0 to 20 models, perfect. It just seems super cheap. Seems a little too good to me, in my opinion. There should be more points, or they should lose poison on. I don't know why they have poison shooting. It just seems super good. Poison AP1 shooting. If you compare it to like chameleons and stuff, which get like AP0 poison, except they also die to like a stiff breeze or anything charging them. These can actually fight off most things, like a lot of things that charge them, because when you get in there, With a monster, you're probably facing 9 attacks with poison and +1 to wound. Like, you're probably taking 2 or 3 wounds before you even fight. So, stand and shoot, like a giant, for example, right? A giant. Shoot it, you do 3 or 4 wounds on average. Stand and shoot, you actually kill it before it gets to you. But even if it does get to you, you hit on 2s and 5s with poison? You average like 2 wounds in combat. Like, you would I think you would almost average killing a 10 wound giant with these guys from the stand and shoot and the shoot. Like, stand in front, shoot it, let it charge you, and all you have to do is make some terror checks. Too good. Hunting chariots, they basically just got worse. Repeater batteries seem fine. It can move and shoot, of course. I don't know why. I don't know why it says note that the model can move and shoot. Maybe, I don't know why. Anyway, it can move and shoot. So I think a lot of people are gonna see this one and say that it's like super broken. I think it's good. I don't know if it's super broken for its points. Not compared to some of the other shit in the book. I'll tell you that. People are gonna act like this is not even top 3. I think broken rules or units in the book. It's 8 strength 5 shots. So if a unit is 25 inches away, so forcing you to move and shoot, it's 5s to hit. A normal bow thrower would be 4s to hit. So at 5s to hit, it's what? Let's just say it's toughness 3 with no save. You're shooting Seaguard at 25 inches away. A normal bow thrower would kill 2. This bow thrower would kill 1/3, 5, 6, 5, 18, 8, 24. No, that doesn't make sense. 1/3 hit, 5, 6, 5, 18th times 8, 40. This would kill 2.1. Right? Yeah. Going into cover, it gets a little worse. Of course, if you're at 24 inches and you don't have to move, it's 3s versus 4s. So 4 strength 5 is gonna kill. Well, let's just take a monster that's toughness 4 in this case, or some unit, an ogre unit, toughness 4. So 4 is gonna hit 2/3, 8/3, so 2.6 versus 3s to hit 4, 2. It's not that much better than a normal bolt thrower, depending on the ranges and toughness of units. Bolt throwers get strength 6. Bolt throwers are 20 points cheaper, which is 10%, and they're safer. That's the big part. Like this, if you're shooting it, you're in range of like shooting in Magic. Before, like normal bolt throwers, like Seaguard ones, like they'll just sit back there and like shoot your bolt throwers off the board, right? If you run a bolt thrower battle, you're gonna lose to the Seaguard ones or the Reapers. So I think when you start taking cover, or if you're a noob and you just put your unit in front of these and walk up to 12 inches and get blown off the board, it can happen, sure. But if you have tools like other Raven Cloaks landing in front of your bolt thrower and killing it in one round of shooting, then maybe it doesn't feel as good. Again, I think they're solid. I think if you build an army that can protect them, they'll be fine. But I don't know. I've been talking to several people about, like several top players about Dark Elves, and none of them are that interested in even using this thing. But maybe as like the Raven Cloaks and the Warlocks go more expensive, they'll use them. This is cool, sure. I mean, it's kind of what it was before, but it has like this cool water rule now. Hydras. Let's see. For each successful fortune save of 6, the model disregards another suffered wound. If there aren't enough simultaneous wounds suffered to discard, the model immediately causes 1 point instead. Interesting. So what this essentially means is, if trying to think of an interesting situation. No, it's fine. You disregard wounds. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything to say about that. It's good. It's cool. We'll see if it's worth it. It has fortitude. It has a lot of attacks. It gets an extra wound. It's what it was before for different price. It's cheaper. We'll see. I'm running out of things to say about these things. They're not as unique. Miss Leviathan, 8% more chance to go first. Cool. +4, and lose, march, and shoot. Oh, cool. So this is not like your Raven Cloaks and like your... You can't use this on Raven Cloaks and this crossbows to get a super amount of shooting range. 265, it seems pretty cheap. I mean, even if you cover up these rules, which are only used in deployment and first turn, it's a flying monster that has 8 HP, res 5 distracting, so it's basically a giant that's distracting. But it flies, which is nice. It's a huge base. It's not. It's a big base. It's not the strongest in combat, but it does Thunderstomp. Strength 4, AP 3. And the Lash Masters get you 4 attacks that get +1 to wound. I could see these things being used just as more like chaffy, like chaff clearers. Yeah, I think they're cool. I think we might see them. Again, a lot of the lists I've seen or seen built are based around like the 2 units of cloaks, the Warlocks, because they're just so cheap for their points. So, but if you're spending, 600 to 800 points on Warlocks and 600 points on Raven Cloaks, that's 1,400 points. You add in the core, you're adding heroes. You don't have much left to take something like interesting or like other interesting stuff. So, I think a lot of the interesting stuff in the book is a little overshadowed by the Warlocks and the other things. So we'll see how that kind of shakes out. But there's a lot of cool stuff in this book. Overall, I like it. I think I'll play it at some point because I do play Dark Elves and I do own Dark Elves. I'm not as excited to play it in its current iteration. I think the Warlock stuff is kind of annoying. It feels like you kind of have to take them. It feels like a lot of the units are just a little too cheap. And so I might wait for like an update before I play this book. I'll play against it, just whatever. I did play against it once already. But it hasn't drawn me yet to where I'm like, I love this and I definitely want to play it right now. And maybe some of the cleanness of the book is the reason, or that's because I'm just enjoying orcs. So anyway, that's my little review. Sorry I didn't hit every little thing. I tried to just go through it. It's already been 40 minutes. Jesus. All right. I know, I think Conrad's going to do a review with some good players. So look out for people doing actual real reviews besides just my opinions. And thanks for listening.